Welcome to another episode of Leaders in the Spotlight with me, Taiji Charity.
This podcast is for C-suite leaders to discuss their experiences and provide insight, encouragement, and inspiration for seasoned and inspiring leaders, offering valuable solutions to today's challenges that will inspire, ignite, and invigorate new and seasoned leaders to walk in their God-given authority with compassion, kindness, and empathy. So sit back, relax, and be prepared to be inspired with today's episode
Of Leaders in the Spotlight.
Thank you.
Welcome to Leaders in the Spotlight, where we dive into the highs, lows, and unexpected plot twists of leadership, sharing tales from the top. Today's guest is an entrepreneur extraordinaire and a passionate advocate for individuals with special needs. Her name is Pamela Dixon. As the CEO and founder of B-ALL Unlimited LLC, Pamela has built a network of residential facilities and essential services, employing teams of 50 dedicated professionals to support this community. With a strong foundation in education and counseling, Pamela's journey is driven by a deep commitment to service. She earned her bachelor's degree in English from UCLA and holds 2 master's degrees in educational administration and counseling from Cal State University, Los Angeles. She is also a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Join us as we explore Pamela's path to leadership, the challenges of building a mission-driven business, and the impact of purpose-driven entrepreneurship. Pamela, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I am excited. This is our first time meeting in person,
Yes.
but we've talked before.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Let's talk leadership.
Let's do it.
When did you first realize that Pamela was a leader? When did you first own that
I have
reality?
to laugh. My mom told me that probably at the time that I was 9 years old, she says, "You're never going to work 9 to 5. You're not going to do that." And I thought, well, I don't even know what that means at 9 years old. But I knew that I always like to help people. An example of that is even in elementary school, I'm helping the child or the children that no one else likes, the kids that no one, the children that no one plays with on the playground. I'm, attracted to
those.
and supporting them. So when my mom said that, I thought, okay, well, all right. But I think that started then, that the seed was planted, and I think it has grown ever since.
Wow. It's amazing when you start, I think, at an early age and having that family structure to see that leadership in you and to sort of help pull it out and help navigate towards what that thing is. So when you were deciding on a major in college, English is your major.
Yes.
How did you tie in that to helping with special needs? Like, how did that all come to be?
So, and when I was in high school, I worked in group homes. And I thought, this is amazing. I loved it. These were individuals with special needs that had to live apart from their families. But in the group homes, I felt like I just was hanging out with them. I was in high school hanging out with them and making them feel like a part.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so easy for people with special needs to feel different.
Yeah.
Not like everyone else who's supposedly normal.
Absolutely.
So when I got to college, being an English major was easy for me. I was always able to write well, to speak well. That was not the problem. So I did that, but to become an attorney, to go on to law school. But right before graduation, I realized that's not my personality at all. That is not me.
Talk to me about it.
I don't like confrontation. I do like to speak I like to help others, but at the time was the OJ trial. And I watched what happened, and I said, these people are very good at I realized that you can convince anyone of your argument based on how you present it.
Yes.
That's not me.
Wow.
I realized that was not something that I felt that I could do for a living.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't even know all the different avenues that law school could take you in. But in that moment, I said, that's not me. And I said, what do I really like? And I said, I love to help people. And so I decided to get my master's in counseling. I was always the one that people wanted to bring their problems to. People always wanted to talk to me. And my mom and my daughter laugh at me now because they go, here she goes talking to other people all the time. She doesn't even know these people. Why is she talking to these people? But I realized that was my gift.
Yeah.
To be able to talk to people and to make them feel comfortable. But then I realized when I went through the counseling program, I don't know that I can sit and listen to people's problems 24/7.
Right.
I didn't
That could be
feel
exhausting.
At that time.
God bless all you therapists out there.
They're
God bless.
amazing. They're amazing, but I'm so grateful that I realized at that point that wasn't what I could do. But what I realized is, okay, there's the school district. So then I got my master's in educational administration, and I began working in the public school system. The best thing ever. I was able to see what it looks like from the ground up. How you really do have the ability to create and to develop children for what they will become in the future. I saw, I'll never forget, at a middle school, there was a young man that was so, I just realized he was so bright, but the teacher, he was always in trouble. I'm like, why are you in here again? And he's like, I don't know, Miss Dixon, you know, they just do me in here all the time. I said, would you write something for me? And I realized in that moment, this young man is gifted. I realized that he also lived in a group home. I realized there was no one advocating for him. So I said, oh, this is it. This is what I like. And I remember back to when I worked in the group home. So my thought was, what can I do to support these young people that for whatever reason don't have their parents or family, and they have to live in a group home. That's where that came from.
Oh my gosh. I just love the steps of leading the journey of getting to purpose. And sometimes it's trial and error, right?
Yeah.
It's figuring things out by walking down a path that you think I might have an interest in, but exposure, I guess. Being exposed to some things and realizing, not quite it.
Yes.
Maybe this is not it. But being open and willing to just follow the journey of where your heart and your passion lies.
Yes.
Not everybody knows how to do that.
That's true.
Right?
That's very true.
So what advice would you give someone who they're still trying to figure it out?
I think that you have to be open to the pivot.
That's
Life
good.
is never what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I have so many examples of that.
January 2025 taught us all that, right? No, COVID
20,
taught us
that's when it
all
started. And then, January started that all over again, saying, well, what I thought, that most likely will not be.
Right.
And you have to be able to pivot. And it's okay. It's okay to start over.
Yes, that's good.
It's okay to have a plan to rethink things. It's okay to go against the norm that maybe your family set for you.
Oh, come on now.
It's okay, because sometimes that's not what's in you. And if that's not in you, that's not where you're going to succeed.
Wow.
You might succeed, but you won't be happy. You will be always thinking, what if?
What? Ooh, gee. Hold on. Let me
Okay.
take a sip and
I
and
might
another.
have to do that. Yeah, because
Look, that what if, living in the what if I had done this or what if I had, is so very powerful. And fear is what handicaps so many people. But again, in COVID, pivot became the word of the season because a lot of people had to pivot. A lot of people had to figure out how do we navigate this time, and just all sorts of things chaotically was happening. But to start a business, because you started your own business. You went from working in the group homes to launching your own business. Talk to us about that journey. How did that happen? What did you do to get there?
This is such a story too. I was working in the school district. I loved it there. I was at Crenshaw High School. That was one of my favorite. I started in Compton Unified School District. That was amazing because there were, again, so many amazing children that I prayed to God. Still, someone gave them the opportunity because they were bright. They were everything. They just needed the direction and a chance. So, on to Crenshaw, same thing. Very brilliant kids that had access to a lot of things, but I was fairly new there. And I had received a reduction in force letter every year, but I was like, I think it's going to stick this time. So I said, you know what? It's probably time to lay the foundation here. Let me get the paperwork done and everything that needs to happen in order to open the first home. So I was able to do that, thank God. And I'm not kidding. I received the notice in June that was my last day there.
Wow.
July, I got my first client. So I never missed a paycheck. Now, anyone that thinks that I could have done that, look at God. There's no way that I could have, no one could have orchestrated that.
Right.
In terms of paperwork, I mean, everything that needed to happen, and it happened. I did not miss a paycheck, and at the time, I was single with 2 little ones. And I just kind of laugh because I think even now when people see me, they think I'm a housewife, and I'm like, oh, a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, that's, and you know what, that's fine.
And nothing's wrong with it.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't need a label is my point.
Right.
I don't need for people to acknowledge what I know.
Right.
I'm like, okay, but I think that people looked at me and thought, oh, she's just whatever they saw. I'm 5'3", so I'm a short person, and I think that they just thought, oh, she's just...
Right. Oh, she's just cute.
Yeah, she's just cute. She smiles all the time.
And you behind the scene making things happen, changing lives for children.
Yes. So I opened the one, and that's an adult residential facility. That was my first. I love that, and I love the staff that started with me. I have a few that have remained. That was in 2009. Wow. And then I look up and I'm like, it's 2025. What just happened here?
Wow.
And then my mom asked if we could open a residential care facility for the elderly. That was her baby. I did that. Yeah. So we've got that. And then I went on to open a couple of more. These are specialized, and that means the most severe of the severe. So these are people that, all of these individuals could not live at home because of their behaviors. They were so, some of them violent, some of them just erratic. The families just couldn't take it. So the way that I looked at this, and I have to go back to a story. I have a very dear friend. We were pregnant at the same time. My son was born in June. Her son was born in September.
I have to ask June what, because I'm a June baby.
Okay, so Reese is June 21st, and Madison is June 18th.
Oh, I'm June 18th. Oh, no, we're going to drink to that. I am June 18th.
I had that feeling when you said June. I was like, oh.
My whole my daughter is June 6th, my husband's June 17th, and I'm June 18th. Wow. Welcome to my household. You can imagine what that's like, right?
Yeah, I get it. Amazing. I know already amazing. So I just lost my train of thought because June 18th, that's such an important day. My Madison, my baby girl, she's everything. Yeah. And when you said June, I'm like, something about you gave me that feeling.
Right. No, but you were talking about when you started the house. Yes, and your best friend who was pregnant. Yes.
And when her son was born, he was born with special needs. It took, I believe it was 75 days in the NICU, and I would take my son Reese in there. We would visit every Thursday. And, you know, at the time we just didn't know how severe, but then as time went on, you know, she discovered that he had severe special needs. And at the time, it was a consideration. Would he go home with her, or would she have to place him? Thankfully, she was able to bring him home, and he was able to live with them for a long time. But the thing is, in that moment, I thought, if I ever do this, so we're going back to 2002. If I ever open a home, I want to know that he could live there. That's what I based it on. And during COVID, she and her husband were able to come with him to get the vaccine, and she was able to see the facility, and she said yes. And I'm like, that's everything to me. Yeah. So that was the reason for it, and kind of the wind beneath it. Right. So yeah.
I want to talk to you about building a team, because you have to have the right people in place to work in the area of service that you provide. How did you go about finding the right team? What are some of the wins and the challenges with building a team? Because you have a team of about 50, you said, right?
Yes.
How did you build this team? How do you, talk to me about that.
Let's start with a lot of prayer.
I know that's right. Girl, I'm going to drink this whole cup of,
Just saying, is there anything stronger than water?
You about to make me get on my knees right now, okay?
I mean, well, because look at it this way. You are entrusting others with your livelihood, with your legacy, with everything. And, you know, back when we started, there were people that were great. They were really in it for this. They were the people that were born to do this.
Yeah.
As time has gone on, I'm looking for those people still. I have a handful, and to them, I am so grateful. I would shout them out by name, but I think I shouldn't do that.
No, it's all right.
Well,
it is all right.
Denise, Isaac, and Maria, and to my husband Luther too. I could not do this without them.
It takes a village.
It takes a village,
Absolutely.
but these are people that, I mean, we're on the phone 24/7. I mean, we are working 24/7, but their heart is these individuals. They're not okay until the individuals are okay. And I use the term individuals because that is the term that is appropriate. You cannot say anything else. So I would like to say my guys or the individuals that we serve. And I couldn't do it without them. Now, yes, we have come across some, and we are still dealing with the ramifications and consequences of those that were not in it for the right reasons.
Fit.
And it's terrible. And I think after COVID, you have people that think that they're entitled to something.
Oh, gosh.
Workers' comp is not a joke, and lawsuits are not a joke. And it makes it very, very difficult. But when you find people that love your individuals, that's everything.
Makes a
But
difference.
I have my HR team, Dion and Candace. I have to shout you out because I could not do it without them. I don't have that skill set to look at someone and say no, or maybe, or absolutely not. I don't have that, and I realize that. So my HR person, Dion, is the gatekeeper. She interviews and asks them different questions, and she gets, the right people in.
Good.
And I could not do this without her. But you have to, it's about finding the right fit, and it doesn't always present as you think.
Girl,
Once again.
There's just so much in common here. I totally understand. And I tell my team all the time, I said, look, if you're here for a paycheck, this is not the right place for you. And I'm grateful because I do have a really good team. But, just building, and I've had some that just didn't work out because it wasn't about the mission and the impact of the young people that we serve.
Right.
To work here, you have got to understand the heart of what we do and the why we do it, because the needs go beyond that 9 to 5 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
Those 9 to 5 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
And I need to know that you have the heart to show up for our young people, because I know I do. I was telling, I'm part of a leadership group, and we were talking just this past Wednesday, and I was saying, when I get a call at 10 o'clock p.m. from a young person saying they don't have a place to stay, then I have to, and they was like, well, how do you set boundaries? I said, boundaries?
Right.
What do you mean boundaries?
Right.
We're talking about a child staying at a bus stop somewhere. What do you mean boundary? It's hard to do it, and I understand the method behind it, but I'm like, you got to start calling those resources. You got to tap into your community to make sure that you can meet the need, right? And I ended it with, if not me, then who?
So on that note, what I realized too is that I cannot do everything, and I cannot be everything to everyone. It's
so hard. I know.
But I have to prioritize because I have to have some left for my family. I have to still be able to think straight too. Well, I have to prioritize. And thankfully, I have the support.
Yes.
I have, my administrators that will take the lead, that will actually do the work. We just, they consult with me and I say yes. But that took a long time to get there. I have my husband who, he's in the same line of work and he's able to help me too. But I mean, I have to, I have to be available to him. I have to be available to my kids. I have to be able to think straight, to make decisions for my business and for my family. So I have to put that first, because if I'm not okay, then everything else is going to fall apart.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's that whole air stewardess or airline, what do they call them, flight attendant rule. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then it always, for me, it sounds great in theory. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that, because the juggle is, and you're constantly building, and then you want to help more. Like you want to be of service. You want to, especially when you know the numbers of kids that are in the system, or the number of kids that are being born with special needs. It's like you're trying to keep up with the needs.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. And my husband, I tell him, like, gosh, I just feel so complacent, like we need to do something more. And he's like, what more? But that's exactly what you're talking about. The children are being born every day, and they deserve this opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that our homes are perfect. We really try. We treat everyone like they are our family, because we know the situation. Some still have family involved, and a lot of them do not. So there's a lot of pressure here. For Christmas, for holidays, for birthdays, we are it. And we want to make their lives meaningful. So, but I mean, we're moving on to a different level now of service, which is the group homes. So now we're going to be servicing children.
Meaning just like children in foster care?
Also within the regional center. So these are so different age group, in other words, with what we've already been doing. So now we're just servicing all levels at this point.
Wow.
Which is what I love. And I'm saying there's a need, so let's meet the need. And let's keep going.
What's the mission of your company?
The mission is to serve every individual with love and to treat them like they are our family for as long as we can. And with everyone that works with us, you are part of the legacy. The legacy, by that I mean, I've had mentors that shared with me how to get into the business and to grow the business. That's what my mission is for every employee that I have. Not everyone can receive that. But it's there. And that's my mission.
That's good.
I have to, there is enough for everyone. And I think that we kind of forget that. And we think, it's only supposed to be me. This is all for me. I got to keep this information, close to my, no. There is enough. There's more than enough for everyone.
I tell my friends all the time, God has provided enough light for all of his children to shine. Right? and I know him to be a provider. So he has exactly what we need. We need to know how to tap in and how to work together. How to collaborate together to meet the demanding needs that we see, especially in children. And I tell people all the time that scripture that I hold near and dear to my heart is James 1:27, that true religion is taking care of orphans and widows. Like, it is our collective responsibility to look after children.
Absolutely.
Right? So I want to talk to you about mentors, because you mentioned mentors. How do you find the right mentors?
I am fortunate enough to have known the mentors most of my life because they were my mother's best friends.
Yes. Wisdom just pouring down like rain,
and you're just sitting there as a little kid just listening and at the kitchen table, not really understanding what you're listening to, but not understanding that it's forming who you will become.
Absolutely.
And the two ladies are Carolyn West and Ann Hamilton, and they are amazing. Back in my goodness, so this had to be in the 80s when they started in this business. And I just looked at, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And just to watch them grow to the level that they did, I thought, and at that time, I didn't understand the money that was related to it. It was that they took the chance. They were married with kids, and they said, okay, I'm going away from what my norm was, my day job, to do this. And they have grown their businesses where, they are mentors to several people at this point.
Really?
I was maybe 10 when I realized, okay, here's what was going on. So there are people my age and older or younger that have watched them and that are now a part of that community.
Wow.
I don't think that and I'm going to have to tell them, because we do have a group that we belong to called SACO, and I think that I need to let them know the impact that they have left within our area. They're
great.
amazing.
What does SACO mean?
SACO is Society of Care Providers organization.
Okay.
So this is what we do.
Yeah, y'all in a community where iron is just sharpening iron, right?
And we don't even know it. We're just doing what we do, but sharing the information with one another to make their lives better.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. We need that. We need to be able to lean on and have that support system that when we are feeling at our lowest, they can pick us up and vice versa.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's so in terms of just I mean, I guess I would assume these are the leaders you admire, because I usually ask, like, who are some of the leaders that you admire? But you've already really touched on some of the leaders that you truly admire.
Well, there's one more.
Oh, tell me. Who is it?
Teresa Lowe.
Oh, girl, yeah. Now, we share that one, okay?
I'm just saying. I mean, okay, so.
We sharing her.
Teresa, I've known, so our kids went to school together. And I mean, again, now we look up and they're all in college, except for my little one. But it's crazy that time has gone by that quickly. But Teresa has always been that.
Yeah.
Always been the one to share information, to say, how you doing? Are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help? And to call me whenever there's some good news to share, even when there's not so good news. But she always had information and is never afraid to ask my opinion, to share it with me, to say, hey, do you need this? Can this work for you? And that's how we met, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
That's how we met.
So, yes, she would be my other person.
Absolutely. I'm going to drink my whole cup of water on that one, too, okay?
Yep.
No, she is all of that. We actually had her on, the show was at that time called Leadership Realities. We recently changed the name to Leaders in the Spotlight, kind of parallel with the organization's name, Kids in the Spotlight.
Got it.
Yes, absolutely. She is definitely a great resource and just a great human being altogether. And makes it look easy.
I mean, effortlessly, every single day.
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay.
And that's someone, when we talk about 10 o'clock at night when kids need a place to stay, I have on speed dial because I know she will connect me with the right resource. So
exactly.
Yeah, I pulled her out of bed a few times. So what advice would you give up and coming leaders? Someone who's still just trying to figure it out, like they know it's something there, but they don't know how to connect the dots.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to step out. Don't be afraid to ask. The worst that someone can ever say is no. And I know that my kids would be like, Mom, I can't believe you. You know what? Yeah, why not? Be confident in what it is that you're asking. Be clear in what it is that you desire, because I think the clarity will lead you to confidence. And so if I come to you and say, you know, I would like to rent a space, and here's what I'd like. You're going to say, oh, well, tell me more. Yeah. As opposed to if I come to you, well, I was kind of thinking that I sort of had this idea. I'm not sure how it will work. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You have to be confident in what you want and just ask. Don't be afraid to ask and know who to ask. But that, again, comes with being clear on what it is that you desire.
Absolutely. That's good communication skills all around.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to present well, too.
You have to present well. Yeah. People ask me all the time, like, were you afraid? Absolutely, but I did it anyway. You have to get to that place where your mission is greater than your fears.
Absolutely.
Right?
Right.
And you understand that the need is bigger than your insecurity. Right?
To me, as a mom, my fear would be not being able to provide for my kids. So that fear doesn't really exist because my kids, they're everything.
Right.
Everything that I do is for them. So anything that I get, I'm going for it wholeheartedly because I've got these 3 people looking back at me.
That's looking at you.
Yeah.
That's
they're bigger now, but still.
But they're watching.
They're watching everything.
They are absolutely watching.
And I love that.
Yes, I know mine is 12 years old, and I started the organization before she was born. I was like, God, you're so smart because you knew to birth kids through me before you birthed Ebony Jewel through me, because I think if Ebony Jewel had come first, I don't know that I would have been able to navigate that. And maybe, I mean, God, knows, but I just feel like you kind of set that pace for me so then I could now focus on, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
it would have been really difficult for me if I think had a kid first, because I was older for one.
Yes.
And I've been waiting to have a kid. And when I had one, I was in la la land, like, oh my gosh, I got a baby.
I'm still there.
You know, so it's, yeah. I mean, this has been just so rich and so informative. I thank you for your time, for sharing your journey with us. And I know we probably was just scraping the surface of some things. Because but one last question before I go, because they held that sign up. They always hold that sign up that says, you got 5 minutes left. My least favorite sign. But I want to know, what advice can you give in navigating leadership through challenging times like now? Like we're in the middle of having dealt with wildfires. Pray that none of your property was damaged or anything like that. But how do you encourage other leaders to navigate and make tough decisions in seasons of uncertainties?
I think you have to be informed. Let's start with getting the correct information. So I have, so my childhood home where my brother and his family currently live, it was spared.
Oh, thank God.
There are 2 homes on the block that were spared. Everything else is gone.
Are you serious?
Including my aunt's house that was down the street, completely gone.
Oh, wow.
My other aunt, who lived up a ways, her house was spared, just like my brother's. And then our uncle down the street, completely gone. So where we are now is trying to put the pieces back together. But you have to have the right information. Don't just go to this corner, that corner. My sorority, of course, lists all the information that anyone needs regarding loans, every step to get you back to where you need to be. It's getting the correct information, okay? And then after that, you have to be confident in what you're doing.
Back to that confidence.
And you obviously, you have to be able to pivot.
Yes.
And then choose your circle. So just a small example here, my uncle has to be real to home. He's entrusting what my husband and I have said with the contractor we've used. That was different in their relationship, but this is real. This is the reality. We just remodeled a home completely from the bottom up. Check our guy out. You can check out this other guy, but people now are going to be trying to charge you.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to be careful.
Get your information correct.
That's
Get
good.
your circle, and don't be afraid to pivot.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard from Pamela Dixon. I know you've got something today to help you on your leadership journey. Thank you again, Pamela, for being here. Guys, I need you to do those 3 magical words: like, share, and subscribe. Invite someone else to tune in and watch other leaders like Pamela share their journey, because again, I believe you will grab something, hear something that will help you on your journey. So until next time, stay tuned. We'll be back next week with another episode of Leaders in the Spotlight. Bye now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I hope you were inspired and you gained some valuable nuggets that will help you to become a better leader and to walk in your God-given authority. Bye until next time.